What's up guys, Davey here from phonebuff.com, and in this video I wanted to share my thoughts and experiences that I've had with the Galaxy Note 2. Now, I've been using this phone as my daily driver for, well, basically since October when it first came out in the US, and that alone should tell you what my overall opinion of the phone is, especially when you consider how many phones I get to work and play with on a daily basis in this line of work. But I'm still using it as my daily driver today. And I'm going to be changing it very soon actually, which I'll tell you about in the next video. But for now, I want to share with you guys, what it's been like for me living with the Galaxy Note 2. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So there are so many things that really make, having the Galaxy Note 2 a unique experience. But out of all of them, I'd say the one that really stands out to me is how many people have come up to me and asked, oh, what kind of phone is that? Or, hey, is that the new Galaxy? I've even had a couple of people come up to me and ask, is that the iPad mini? Now, regardless of what people ask me, the thing is, people are really curious about the phone. I mean, I've never had a phone get so much attention. And, for those of you guys who are a little bit shy, I think it could be a good conversation starter. But obviously, the phone gets so much attention because the thing is huge. I mean, this is one big phone. Now, for some people, that alone could be a deal breaker. In fact, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I could never use a phone that big. I like it, but it's just too big. And I can see why some people would say that. For example, if you have smaller hands, it could be an issue. I mean, it is a big phone, and reaching across the screen can be really, really hard. As it is, if you have smaller than average hands, it might be a deal breaker. And it doesn't really have to do with just your hand size. It can do with your clothing too. For example, I know a lot of girls out there, who say, oh, I'd really like to use that phone, but it's just too big to fit in my pocket. And it's not just a girl thing, by the way. It could be, for a guy too, if you wear tighter clothes or if you have clothes with smaller pockets. But definitely is an issue if it doesn't fit in your pocket. If you're a girl, maybe you can put it in your purse, but I don't know how convenient that would be. But if the size isn't an issue for you, or if you could just get over it, which, I'm telling you, once you use the phone for about a week or two, you really do start getting used to it. And when you go back to another phone, the other phones will actually feel small and feel like it's smaller than it should be. But anyways, when people ask me, why I use the Note 2 over all the other smartphones that I have, I tell them, two things. Well, yeah, more than two things usually, but two main things. One is the fact that the battery on this thing is amazing. I mean, with the big phone comes a big battery. It's a 3100 milliamp battery, and I don't ever have to worry about this thing dying on me. And with some of my other smartphones, I would either have it die on me or I'd be worried about it dying on me by the end of the night. And with this thing, it can have like 45% battery at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I won't really have to worry about it, which, it's really nice. I'm a heavy user, and that's something that I definitely, appreciate in the phone. Now, the second thing is probably the more obvious one, and that's the big screen. I mean, having a big screen like that is really awesome. Obviously, it could be a drawback, but it could be a huge, literally, benefit in the 5.5-inch HD screen. Watching, videos or browsing the web on a screen this big is just, better than anything you could have on, a phone with a smaller screen size. Because, for example, if you're watching a YouTube video, like this one, for example, and you want to watch it with a friend or a family member, you can just kind of gather around the phone and everybody will be able to see what's going on the screen. Where if you have a smaller screen size, it's a little bit hard. And thankfully, the speaker in here is actually good too, so it only adds to that experience. Now, besides the battery and the screen size, there's probably a dozen other features that I really like, but if I were to go into them all, the video would be way too long. So the main one I want to cover is TouchWiz. Now, if you follow the channel, you probably, are wondering why I would say that, because I'm generally a fan of the pure Android experience, but I feel like Samsung really added some value with TouchWiz on the Note 2. There's certain features that I really appreciate, and the top ones I'd say is, one is the messaging app. The messaging app I really like because it gives you the option to schedule future text messages. So for example, it's really, really great for sending a text message on someone's birthday at midnight. Another thing is the alert repetition, which is really good for me at least, because sometimes when I get a text, I don't check it right away, and then I end up forgetting to check it later because the phone's just in my pocket. And with this alert repetition, it'll basically, do the same notification, at a set interval, which I think I have mine on 10 minutes. Basically, every 10 minutes, it'll vibrate and, make my ringtone or sound my ringtone, and until I actually go in and check it. and it ensures that I don't miss text messages, which is great because I've missed a lot of text messages in the past. Speaking of alerts, another feature that I really like is the Smart Alert feature. So for example, with Smart Alert, if you have your phone just sitting down on a desk and you want to pick it up and go, what it does is if you have an unread text message, it will actually vibrate. So there's no need to actually look at the screen and turn it on every time you check you pick up your phone, or you don't have to sit there and wait for the LED notification light to come on, which I found to be really convenient. I can pick up my phone, throw it in my pocket if I don't feel it vibrate at all. If it does vibrate, I'll check it. I don't have to check it every single time, which is a pretty big convenience. And then the other thing I have to say that's among the top of my list for Samsung TouchWiz features is the ability to hide apps. Now, you might say, you could just uninstall an app that you don't need. I mean, if you're gonna hide it, you might as well uninstall it. And I kind of get what you're coming from, where you're coming from. But personally, sometimes there's an app I'll use maybe only once a month, but it doesn't necessarily mean I want to delete it off my phone. Being able to hide it, has allowed me to consolidate my app pages down to 2 pages, which makes it a lot easier to find, what I'm looking for in these 2 pages. And whenever I need the app that I hid, I can just, unhide it and it comes right back on. No need to download it again. No need to depend on that data connection, which, it's really nice and really convenient and adds to that great experience. Now, the one feature on here that, it's marketed heavily by Samsung is the S Pen. And honestly, it's not bad. I mean, it's actually really good. It works really well. It works just like you'd expect it to. But honestly, I don't use it. I mean, I've had this phone for a couple of months, and I think I've used it like 2 or 3 times. 2 times I used it because I was trying to explain something to somebody, and they weren't quite getting me, so I just kind of drew it, and I was able to get that message across really clearly, which was pretty cool. And then the one other time was I actually signed a contract on the phone. I was in Las Vegas for CES. I signed a contract on my phone instead of having to worry about printing it, faxing it, doing it the old school way. Did it all on my phone, pulled the S Pen, did a signature on Acrobat, sent it back via email, and I was done. So really cool. I don't know if that's a feature I'd go out of my way to buy a phone for, but having it doesn't hurt, and the S Pen doesn't get in the way at all. I mean, if you don't want to use the S Pen, you just leave it in there and you'll never even notice it. Now, I've talked about a lot of things that I like about the phone. Obviously, I like it more. There's more things I like about it than I dislike, but I do like to give some of the negative features or negative things about a phone in my reviews. And the one thing I'd have to say, I already mentioned, is the size. I mean, it is a big phone, and it does take some getting used to. And personally, when I found that when I've used the phone for an extensive amount of time, for like 45 minutes or so or longer, my hands start to get a little bit cramped up. And that might be because I'm on the keyboard all day at work, and might be contributing to that. But I haven't really had it happen with other phones, so definitely something worth mentioning. But other than that, I have to say I'm pretty happy with what Samsung did with the Note 2. I mean, it's got the quad-core processor, 2 gigs of RAM, an HD screen that's huge, great 8 megapixel camera. It has LTE, NFC, Bluetooth 4.0, removable battery, a micro SD card slot. So I mean, it has pretty much everything that I'd want in a phone. Maybe the only thing I'd say other than the size that's a drawback is the plastic design. Not really, I've never been one to really complain about Samsung's plasticky designs, and at this point they're kind of known for it. But I dropped my phone recently and it got a little scuff mark, and it was like from like 1 foot up. I was like on a chair and it fell down on cement and it got a scratch, which some of my other phones, even like the iPhone 5, hasn't done that. So that's a downside, but if you don't really drop your phone, not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, those 2 drawbacks are definitely something to consider, but I think that the pros heavily outweigh the cons with the Note 2, at least for me personally. Now, that's the thing with phones. It really comes down to personal preference, and it matters what's important to you. If the size is too much for you to deal with, then obviously this isn't the phone for you. But that's not to say that the phone can't be improved too. I'm sure with the Note 3 there's a lot of things that Samsung's going to be able to do. But that's how it is with all technology. I mean, technology moves at such a fast rate that of course there could be an HD screen. I mean, right now this is a 720p screen. There's HD screens, or full HD screens should I say, that's 1080p out. The Galaxy S4 is just around the corner. But the thing about the Note 2, and for example, comparing it to the Galaxy S4 or any of the Galaxy S phones, is that it's a completely different breed of a smartphone. I mean, they're not in the same segment. The Note 2, offers you that half tablet, half smartphone experience. With the S Pen, if you're one to use it, it really changes the whole dimension of the phone. And that's something to consider when you're looking at the Note 2. I mean, you can't really compare it in the same way as you would, the Galaxy S4 and the HC One. But that's pretty much it for me in this video. If you found it helpful or if you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out a lot. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for more mobile technology videos just like this. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you for watching.